Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. So thank you for being part of the family. And we want to thank everybody for their support over at Patreon. Again, that does help us to keep going. And really, if it wasn't for like the support at Patreon, it would be tough for us to have this backup computer because our other computer got hacked into and is not working at all at this point. So thank you guys. You enable us to keep making these.
Thank you so much.
So over here we see the global parasites are starting to panic. So it says attacking Elon Musk. But remember, obviously, this is good cop, bad cop. And yeah, I mean, these guys could all be about a certain point in time when we're talking about her Q-tip as, what's his name over at Theophysis, Apophysis? Ken calls him her Q-tip, yes.
And you are presenting new ways to minimize the spread of misinformation, and you want to combat dangerous extremist views in the internet.
Dangerous extremist views, yes. Well, I mean, it's quite obvious that their views are dangerous extremist views, don't you think?
Well, it's just that since it's them, it's okay.
You got to be part of the Parasite Club. Yes. We see how it works. So this is Matthew Liao, a bioethicist who ties to the few. Humans should be genetically modified to induce an intolerance to meat in order to solve climate change. Let's listen to him here. Hang on one second.
The last thing I'll say is just the human engineering. I think that with this with this ability to synthesize human genome, we can actually do a lot of things. There's actually a lot of opportunities for this to solve big world problems. So one thing is the climate change. And there, I'll just use, sort of climate change is a really big problem. We don't really know how to solve it. But it turns out that we can use human engineering to help us address climate change. So I'll give two examples. So one is that people eat too much meat, right? And if they were to cut down on their consumption of meat, then it would actually really help the planet. But people are not willing to give up meat. Yeah, some people will be willing to, but other people, they may be willing to, but they have a weakness of will. They say, this steak is just too juicy, I can't do it. I'm one of those, by the way. So, so here's the thought, right? So it turns out that we know a lot about, we have these intolerance to, for example, I have milk intolerance. And some people are intolerant to crayfish. So possibly we can use human engineering to make it the case that we're intolerant to certain kinds of meat.
Yeah, well, they've obviously already done this because it's called AGS. Can you get AGS from tick bites? Yes, AGS is associated with tick bites. And then, of course, many of you guys are very, very aware of the fact that Lyme disease popped up right across from Plum Island. Plum Island is an island technically in New York, right across from the coast of Connecticut. And this was where the first cases of Lyme disease came from. By the way, the most high-level bioengineering bio lab in the country. Yeah, we get the picture. These things, it's just like whatever they talk about either happens or it will happen in the absolute near future. Well, this was Doug Larson, who was a senator from North Dakota.
Last night I had the pleasure of sitting down with a friend of mine who had about a year ago had died. I'd never had a chance to sit down with somebody that had been dead before. And I found it interesting when he explained what it was like to wake up in the hospital after being dead. And the doctor coming up and shaking his hand and saying, "You are the first person that I've ever gotten to shake the hand of that had suffered from cardiac death, instant cardiac death. Not arrest, but death." They spoke for a moment and he said, I have one question for you. and he'd asked him if he'd ever been vaccinated, specifically to the COVID piece. It was an interesting conversation to have. A year prior to that happening, he had told me that he had no sympathy for the unvaccinated. We talked about that last night, and he said, I've always reserved the right to change my mind. So I think it's a good study.
Yeah, well, Doug was killed along with his wife and 2 kids in a plane crash, and, a tragedy. So we send out prayers to Doug's family, and we pray for them as they are now on the other side, so to speak. Interesting, is it not what he was talking about and sharing on the Senate floor?
So heartbreaking, because even though we sit here and we complain about all the politicians, a win is a win is a win. When we see someone here that's willing to stick their neck out and speak their mind because they know in their mind, their heart, their soul, it's wrong, and these things happen to them, it's horrible. It's heartbreaking. It's heart-wrenching. And also the horrible part about it is not just the loss of them, which is enough, but it's sending a signal to so many others who might be willing to stick their neck out and say something. And it just sort of, Mike and I saw this, and, he and I have been through things where we've been very concerned for our safety. And this is really, it's not a kid's game. It's very serious stuff to step up and say the right thing. It's not easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there are people that are no longer with us that have passed on from, things that are termed natural. And, there's some that come right to mind immediately. Other, even fellow YouTubers, that have passed on due to quote unquote natural circumstances that we think if they weren't doing what they were doing, they probably would still be with us. Again, we understand the bigger picture out there. Here you have a leftist journalist and activist, Josh Kruger, tragically shot dead in his Philadelphia home. We saw lots of chaos out of Philadelphia many different times, but recently again, you saw people swarming and just, stealing at will anything that they wanted. And there's been so many videos. There was a video that was horrible. It showed recently a woman that was working for Uber Eats, and she had her 2 young kids in the back of her car doing deliveries, trying to make enough money to keep them supported. And there's like this gang that comes by, and one of them jumps off a motorcycle, jumps up onto the back windshield, and jumps until the windshield crashes in on her kids. And she comes out and screams at him, and he's shoving her, and it's just crazy. She's facing like a gang by herself, but again, you don't want to mess with a mama bear in the woods when she has her kids with her, and it's only natural. But this is what's going on in society, and it's going to get more intense, especially again in the cities. This is why we've been saying you really don't want to be in the cities if you can avoid it for the time period that we're heading into right now. Of course, everybody has their own circumstances. So you have in the past 24 hours that liberal reporter that was shot and killed in his home. A far left activist was stabbed to death by a deranged stranger in Brooklyn. Then you had Democrat Congressman Henry Cuellar, who was carjacked at gunpoint in D.C. The crime wave is serious. And when you look at this, you could see part of this is targeting the left and targeting the right. Because, as we've said, they want to create the conditions for a civil war revolution in the U.S. before we are officially at war with the BRICS nations and we find ourselves invaded. Well, of course, we're already invaded. That's obvious, but what I'm talking about is the actual militaries that come in number, where you see the Russian and Chinese warplanes screaming overhead, and you see the U.S. planes if they have gas, if they have jet fuel going after them. Yeah, we've been so set up, it's just ridiculous. And numerous emergency crews are on the scene of a large house explosion in Detroit, Michigan. Was somebody making some sort of substances they weren't supposed to? Was this some sort of, well, it looks like it wasn't stormy, lightning strike, natural gas, who knows? This, they say, was a lightning strike hitting a food waste recycling plant. How many different recycling plants have we seen go up in flames? This was the Oxford one from yesterday that we were covering on Patreon. And, I'm going to try to put this one up on EEARTS. And because of playing this speech given in Senate, which, you should be able to play that, but the likelihood is the high likelihood this gets taken down. So yeah, here's the context. It was just a lightning strike. It happened to hit perfectly. Cindy feels the technology was in play here.
Well, that's what I felt right away. It was something, the feel and the energy was targeted. So, but, I could be wrong. Could just be a coincidence. Nature can work in perfectly straight lines.
Yeah. This is again part of the reveal. This has all been in front of our faces for a very long time, and we just really haven't recognized it. And we see New York City Mayor Eric Adams is going to go down to the Darien Gap and check it out for himself. So that's down in Panama where Michael Yon's been the whole time. He's going to go take a poke around, and Michael Yon, has offered to show him around, and we'll see what happens. He's going to go to Mexico City, Puebla, Mexico, Ecuador's capital, Quito, Bogota, Colombia, and then finally the Darien Gap. Yeah, in times past when things were a little bit calmer, I would love that itinerary. And in fact, before all the chaos hit, Cindy and I were thinking about doing a trip like that. We were thinking, we can't really afford to, but it would be so cool to see these areas. And she hasn't seen Central America or Latin America at all. But, it's something told me don't. And what happened? The plague upon the land happened. And, that was the guides. That really was the guides. And, I also wanted to make a trip to see my mom because I knew it'd be the last time I would see her. But we canceled it, and she did pass on the next month. Yet I was able to see her, and even speak to her through Cindy, by the way. More illegal immigrants, this time armed with machetes, knives, and throwing stones, going from Tunisia to Lampedusa. This is so clearly a invasion, and really, I am very concerned about all the ones in the United States. But what we've seen coming from Africa and crossing, it's like they're not even trying to blend in a few token women. There's not even like a few children. These are all military-aged males. It's not good. It is so not good. And they keep coming. And this is a massive, massive project. And this project is... wow, this is so big. You're watching how the controllers work here. This is way bigger than the WE few. I'm just going to not finish out that last letter there. Way bigger than Gil Bates. This is way bigger than the UN. This is a cycle that has happened time and time ago, all during the Kali Yuga. This is what they do. This is what they do even on a planetary scale. And I know for some people, that still maybe is, well, we like this couple. They seem okay, but they're kind of weird what they're talking about intergalactic warfare. Don't worry. Just wait. You'll see. It'll be over your heads at some point in time if we are some of the lucky ones that do make it into the 2030s. and it might be sooner than that. This is what they do. This is how they control everything. It's just like Cindy says. It's like the kid with the ant farm. Well, these black ants are getting along pretty good. Let's take these red ones, put them in there. Well, they're getting along good too. What if I shake it up a bit? Yeah. Now, this is university students in China having training. Watch the training. It's training showing, crowd control. And, again, we've seen videos where they're showing return my money. People are upset. So they know society is going to break down. And everybody really in a top level knows it's all breaking down. They understand there's going to be people in the streets. They're going to be raiding banks. They're going to be raiding government offices. This is, training for that time. And they also understand that sometime the people that are standing here holding the shields are going to throw them down and join the crowd. And at that time, then they will end up utilizing different forms of technology and drones. And I've shared with you guys, too, the first visions I've had of the time that we are really in right now. We're back in 83 and 84. And one of the things I had no clue, couldn't understand at all, was now very, very clear to me. I was seeing drones everywhere, watching people's every single move. I was seeing cameras on all the sidewalks in the streets. I was seeing people walking around inside the smart cities that were terrified to do anything out of the norm. They didn't dare do it. And, back then, I really couldn't understand what I was seeing. This is over in Wales. Locals protest the dumping of hundreds of illegal migrants in their hotels. The protests have been global. I mean, there's been so much going on in Ireland, for instance. Oh my gosh. Yeah, all over the world. Sweden has this massive crime wave. Sweden is one of the safest countries in the world. And there's a massive crime wave. There's people being attacked. There's, if you are, again, a female, you're extra, well, you need to really be careful. I mean, again, it's getting absolutely crazy, but this has all happened before. In fact, again, if you look back, who are the Irish, really? Who are the Irish? Who are so many of us? Why do we find people, bodies buried in Florida that look to be European, and they had to be there for 500 years. Now, there's so much we've touched on in various videos, to go over everything again, that's the problem. There's so much. There's also in South America, there's people that have seen beings and bodies, again, that look very, very Nordic. In South America, and we're going back to some of the original explorations of the Portuguese and the Spanish when they first came down there, these legends. Again, we've been jumbled up so many times. If you've ever had 23andMe done, or if you've had Ancestry.com done, you might find that what they tell you as far as your results just don't seem accurate. According to your aunts, your uncles, your grandpas, your grandmas. Well, it's because, again, this jumbling up has been done so many times before. And we have Pakistan given an ultimatum of 28 days to all illegal immigrants to leave the country or face deportation. Well, wait a minute. Pakistan's not part of NATO. They're having a migrant issue too? Where are these people coming from? This is that code name round robin that Cindy picked up remote viewing. Here in Hong Kong and also over in Japan, you have people protesting the CCP dictatorship on the day of mourning. Again, all these governmental systems, they're all temporary. Whether we're talking communism, socialism, whatever, it's all temporary. It doesn't really matter. There is a dictatorship, and this dictatorship comes from on high. Days left in the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. 17 days. Look at that. 17 days. If all of a sudden the U.S. is attacked, we got about 17 days worth of oil. That's it. This war is not going to last very long. It's not intended to. What we're supposed to do, according to their plan, is go to sleep in the United States and wake up in who knows where. I guess it depends on how they're going to break it on up. And let's listen one more time to the WEF members here.
In our nation and globally. And did we solve that? Like, did we actually manage to vaccinate everyone in the world? No. So highlighting water as a global commons and what it means to work together and see it both out of that kind of global commons perspective, but also the self-interest perspective, because it does have that parallel. It's not only important, but it's also important because we haven't managed to solve those problems which had similar attributes. And water is something that people understand. Climate change is a bit abstract. Some people understand it really well. Some understand it a bit. Some just don't understand it. Water. Every kid knows how important it is to have water. When you're playing football and you're thirsty, you need water. So there's also something about really getting citizen engagement around this and really, in some ways, experimenting with this notion of the common good. Can we actually deliver this time in ways that we have failed miserably other times? And hopefully...
So, they're kind of, it does feel like they realize, the whole climate change thing isn't working. So, we got to talk about... We got to talk about water and clean and safe water. So obviously, it's just so obvious.
Everybody knows the language of water and how much water is needed. So they've done their dry run. They know where they have some massive holes. They probably, I'm sure they have their ideas on where they're going to try to plug those holes. And if you're one that, you're dependent on the city supply, that could be problematic. It sounds like they definitely have plans to tinker with people's lives like they never have before. So, learning to be self-sufficient, learning as much as you can about how to filter your own water. These are things that are becoming very, very serious. They have serious plans in the works, and it's about moving in, circling people with all of these to-dos they need to do to plug their holes, and then they're going to start the squeeze. And don't forget, they really cannot do this without our support. We have to individually find ways where we are no longer supporting them, and there's several different ways to do it. We support them through the education system. We support them through the monetary system. We support them through, the food. The food. Our health is a huge supporter of them. If we take our health back, that's really going to take a lot of lifeblood out of them. It's like, popping the balloon, and it's going to deflate. But we have to really be serious about it.
Well, I think when we're talking about these people, it's more like popping a zit, but, not to be graphic.
Well, I believe there's a lot. It's a big zit to pop, not to be graphic.
Declassified X-Files show Winston Churchill ordered UFO cover-up to prevent panic. Yes. Yeah, and again, the Foo Fighters, for instance, it's well known. And no, I'm not talking about the Foo Fighters that formed after Nirvana and Kurt Cobain left. No, Foo Fighters, these little lights, these little orbs that were following the fighter jets around. And again, we've never been alone, and it's impossible to be alone. In fact, as I've said so many times, every single day of your life, beings are walking through you. And you're walking through them. Consciousness is everywhere. Now, we have just been under a dark control system that wants to make people think that every form of consciousness out there that's not the dark control system is all demons and devils. When in fact, it's the demons and devils that have given us, our political, religious, societal structure in the first place, and also the dark system of maintaining your health, quote unquote. No. Everything is totally back asswards, as we would say, completely upside down, topsy-turvy. But it serves their purpose. So, supposedly he got together with Eisenhower and they were keeping it quiet because the human controllers, this is who they report to. They report to non-human entities. When we looked at the food pyramid, a lot of people now are even saying, we should probably take that food pyramid that we're given way back in the day, put it upside down, and it would have been healthier than what they gave us. That was the whole intention the entire time. I remember, non-fat. Oh, isn't that great? It's not fat. Oh, isn't that great? It's parquet. No, you're better off eating butter, real butter, organic butter, than you are margarine. I mean, everything has been so twisted. And this is Robert Lufkin, an MD. And I really agree with this statement. I believe that ketosis is the default healthy nutritional state in which humans existed for the last 2.5 million years ago, until the agricultural revolution about 12,000 years ago. It seems that our metabolism evolved to be in this state. Why is everybody so afraid of ketosis? Well, it's not. They're not. I mean, again, I think people don't understand it. And some people might not even know what we're talking about here. So your body will break down, put it simple, when you give your body a rest and you're not constantly shoving food in the mouth, then your body will start to break down the fat. And the energy that's released from the fat is called ketones. And ketosis is when you're in the state of fat burning. It's just that simple. Now, that only happens after all the food is gone and the glycogen stores are depleted. Glycogen is blood sugar, so to speak, and is stored in the liver and also, in our muscles as well. And the reality is humans grazed, and we didn't always eat every day, and that was okay. Here is one of the things and this doctor is another one that put out a photo from the 70s and just showing how, like in 1970, if you looked on people on the beach, you would be hard pressed to find somebody that we would call obese at this point in time. Now, in our minds, I think it's changed to where we would look at somebody that in 1950 they would have said that person's obese, and now we look at them and say, well, they look pretty healthy, they look in pretty good shape. This is how far we have gotten away from a true healthy state, and all the processed foods are really the worst. And when you look, like there was another guy that was doing a video on what's in one Big Mac. I mean, there's like 40 ingredients in a Big Mac. 40. I mean, it's insane. It's insane. And they use more than one type of sugar. And really, if you want to talk about it, what is the big evil? Well, sugar, really. And refined sugar. Some preppers might have bags of sugars, pounds of sugar. We have no sugar. Again, and I really don't even do well because we eat very, very healthy. And the only sugar I'll ever eat is either maple syrup, organic maple syrup or organic honey. That's it, right? Yeah, that's the only two things I'll ever do. And the last time, even with the honey, it just hit me and made me feel sick. It's just a case of allowing your body to slowly detoxify, because you don't want to go too fast, because you're just releasing too many toxins too soon. It could send you into a tailspin. But when we get into ketosis, then you'll find that you have a steady sort of energy. And we were talking to our realtor yesterday, who is a wonderful guy who has lost over 100 pounds, and he has woken up big time, and he was doing a 24-hour fast yesterday. We did a 24-hour fast, and about 4 days earlier, I had done a 48-hour. And again, we've gotten from the guides, they want us to eat consistently in a 3 to 4 hour window at this point because of the toxic state of the food supply.
It's pretty bad. So, looking for food. I know you guys know that I love my my pumpkin seeds. They're just great, and they're organic, and they're very, very good. And then I got to looking around because I wasn't feeling my best, and I realized these darn pumpkin seeds, they're sourced out of China. So I thought, well, this is not nice. I had to really dig to find that. So I went through and looked for about a dozen other places with organic pumpkin seeds. They're all out of China. So even our powders, everything that we eat, we need to find out where that's sourced from, because a lot of these things are laden in heavy metals, and they're supposed to be good for you, but they're just not. They're pulling us down, and they're very sneaky about it. And I really, really despise the sneaky nature of this matrix that we live in. How everyone's trying to make a buck or pull something over on someone else, and they'll do so at someone's emotional state or the cost of their health. They don't care. They want to step on someone and just get above them so that they feel stronger, better. And we really have to work on holding one another up, not climbing over the other person, and just to get up, just to be a little bit higher. I don't think that that's the natural state of humans. I think we are based in love. What we do is out of love, and we help one another. If you look at a child, look at a 1 or a 2-year-old, they can observe something. They can observe, a little kitten that needs to get to its food dish, its water dish. They'll get up and they'll go help. They want to go help. This is our natural state. And through indoctrination and religious training, they turn people on each other. They turn us on each other. So Mike and I, we do things, our approach when we work with people is very much a shamanic type of approach. And, we're looked at as demons and wolves, and like we're so horrible. But then, it's just, there, you see how they're pitting people against each other constantly. So we have to break down those walls. We have to give each other a break. We have to say, okay, this is this path this person is on. When they're done, they're done. But let's not, berate it. Let's not belittle anyone. I just don't like to see people hurt each other. I don't like to see people, feeling that they're better than the other, because we're all here. We're all equal. We're all on our path.
Absolutely. And, now I just remembered, because I had this whole video set up to go, and then they disabled the computer. And there was this cute little bunny fight. There it is. Put 'em up. Hey, what you doing, bud? We could all get along. These two could get along. They're going to get along after this. Why did the bunny cross the road? I don't know. But
yes, they will get along and share carrots one day when they realize that doing this is not going to get them anywhere.
Absolutely. And so when we talk about the migrant crisis and everything, of course, everybody on this planet is subject to this control system. And there's not one ethnicity, there's not one nationality, there's not one group that's superior, inferior in any way, and all have been manipulated. It's really recognizing the manipulation and then removing the control system. As I look at a beautiful hummingbird coming for a visit, that's the thing. It's recognizing. The problem is simply the control system. So again, they control us through the monetary system, and if they're not able to control us monetarily, like if we all started to work on bartering and trading, some sort of energy exchange, because there really should be an energy exchange. If somebody is doing something that is good for you, then you should kind of pay it forward, pay it back. it just, is a given. Somebody comes and does one good deed. Then if you did a good deed and then somebody else did a good deed, and then, again, they want people to have this sense of entitlement, because that is also a way they can control us. Universal basic income. Right now, they're enticing all these migrants with, $2,200. Hey, we're going to pay you $2,200. We're going to give you food. We're going to give you lodging. Again, it's all through this system that they get people to do these things. And then you get people like that WEF security guard that was at Davos I saw interviewed, and the reporter said to him, "Why are you doing this? Don't you know who these people are?" "Well, I got to support my family somehow." "Yeah, but you don't have to do that, you idiot." I mean, this is where we got to get people to wake up. But you will find that there are people that will, even if they could get, unfortunately, it's the truth. If they could get a little bit more than somebody else, there are some out there that will do it. And this is the leadership of the world. They're all the people that will throw everybody else under the bus in order to get a little bit more ahead.
Honestly, in this world, Mike and I are far from rich. But if we do see someone that is supporting a natural mechanism, and if it's not completely outrageous, we will buy the fruit or the items from that person who is supporting, trying to create a healthy lifestyle for others, because you can't just walk into any grocery store and find organic produce. It's simply not there. So when we do see something organic that's not tinkered with, yes, we do support that to the best of our ability.
Yeah, we'll always pay more for less if it's going to help somebody out, somebody that is trying to do their own thing, be self-sufficient, not be in the system. Absolutely. And I think that's how we all will support each other getting out of this system. So we're no longer fighting each other like these little guys.
Indeed.
Much love. And again, thanks for your support on Patreon. God bless and namaste.